Good evening, and welcome to a new edition of Urban Sentinel Live. This is your host, Reggie Kearney, and we are live here on Tuesday night with a new edition of Urban Sentinel Live. We also have a magazine that we call the Urban Sentinel Magazine. With the May-June edition should be out this weekend. Yeah, I know I'm a little late, but hopefully we have it out this weekend. Glad everybody can... I thank everybody for joining us tonight. We just got some good topics we want to spend a little time on tonight, and just shoot it up tonight. So my guest tonight is going to be my producer, Mark.
Glad to be here with you. I was actually just talking about you earlier today because a friend of mine teaches over at Duke University, and he's got a magazine that talks about the Durham voices or something like that. But he's thinking about doing like you're doing and creating a podcast to go with his magazine, and he's also a professor and is a divinity person as well. So Urban Kenny is over there, and I was telling him, I was like, because he's got a magazine, I think it's Durham Voices or something like that, and I was saying you ought to have like a podcast version. And I was like, I got his good buddy Reggie, he's got a multiple version where he's got the print version, he's got the TV version, and y'all need to do something similar. So I might have to give Reverend Kenny to come on holler at you, and y'all can figure out how y'all can work together or something.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. That would be cool. That.
Yeah, and he's a central person. I know you got those ties to the Eagle Land as well. But I got some Durham news before we get to the serious political news, because we had a crazy incident that happened in Durham, and it involves animals and slithering animals at that. But earlier today, I think it was like 10,000 people that had their power knocked off and everything like that, and they were trying to figure out what caused the power outage. You got those breaker units and things like that. I forget what they call them and everything, those stations. But they did a whole story on it, because apparently what caused the outage was, animals like to get warm too when the weather's getting just a little bit cool in the nighttime. So apparently a snake slithered in there, and the snake ended his life and everything along those lines. But while he was ending his life, the reason that he was slithering was he somehow managed to hit the charger and get fried and everything along those lines. So he was just there trying to get warm and wasn't trying to cause no problems or anything like that. But he managed to end his life as he was trying to stay warm and all in that kind of space. So it was apparently a soul snake, a black snake, and we know black snakes cannot be all that fun all the time, but it was just a little old black snake that was trying to keep warm. And apparently, like I said, I think his life is gone and everything like that. I didn't hear that he had survived or anything in that way, but he is gone in that sense. And like I said, I think he was just trying to keep warm. But even the folks in the community were feeling sorry for him and everything, because one guy was like, look, I understand. He's like the homeless people. He just wants to get a little warmth and everything. He didn't mean to press that button. He didn't know He didn't know that button was going to cause problems for the humans of the world and everything. He was just trying to get a little warmth going on.
But that happens from time to time with black snakes. I've heard them crawling up the light pole, the electrical pole, and getting, causing an outage because they get get up on the transformer, So that's not unusual to hear of a snake.
And that's the word I was looking for. I kept calling it a breaker, but that's the word I was looking for, the transformer. That's I was talking to somebody else about it, but
it's not unusual for that transformer to go down with a black snake hanging around and stuff.
That black snake can just cause trouble, and you just got to watch out for it. And if he's there, you just got to let him do what he's gonna do.
Yeah, and I agree with the other guy. The black snake was looking for some warmth. That's all. I mean, poor black snake gone now.
Gone now. He just wanted to be a warm snake. That's all.
And that is it. Just want to be a warm snake. So
he just want to be a warm snake. But the other thing that happened today is I had some order from my DoorDash, because sometimes a man gets hungry and he got to find some food, and there wasn't much in the refrigerator. But
Mm-hmm.
and I was trying to get some simple items because I know I got to do some house cleaning. So I was trying to get like some Lysol, and I think I was trying to get a couple of other items, even some dish detergent. And you
Mm-hmm.
know that the racks, because the guy sent me a picture that racks were literally empty. So the racks were empty. I'm talking about like those big walk-in refrigerators. They didn't have nothing,
Mm-hmm.
so they were that empty. And some of that might be the tariff. Some of that might have been other things, but definitely it was some empty things going on.
But that's got to be other things. Cause was it the frozen food walk-in?
Yep.
Yeah, with frozen, all the frozen food is manufactured here in the country, so it had to be something else
Yeah, it had to be
that's
something.
causing that. Now, I mean, the boxes. I mean, you do have some stuff that probably is manufactured outside the country. So it could be in a number of things that could be an ingredient that they use. It's hard to say. But this tariff mess that your president has got us into, um, it's just gonna get worse. You
Speaking of our president, what's he doing? Because he was their president, because he's not mine. But speaking of
Mhm.
their president and everything like that, oh, does he just wake up in the morning, John, and decide of some of the executive order he wants? Because I can't remember if you are a veteran. I know you got veterans in your family, and I've got veterans
Mhm.
in my family as well. But for some reason, he's like, I don't want Veterans Day. Instead of Veterans Day, I want Victory Day 1 and Victory Day 2, and we'll still
Mhm.
keep Veterans Day. So I'm still trying to figure out what's with this Veterans Day.
I think, I mean, it's crazy about what he wants to do, but I think a lot of it, when it comes to him, is all about control.
Mm-hmm.
These are my ideas. I'm gonna implement them. I'm the president of the United States. I can do whatever I want to do. Oh, I got a bright idea now. I want everybody to put pink light bulbs outside the house. If you don't put a pink light bulb, we're gonna have an inspector come out and give you $100 ticket. And that's his thinking. That's his thinking. And before these 4 years are over with, I think you're gonna see a lot of actions come out there. You're gonna be what?
Yeah, I'm already doing that a couple times. I'm going like, what were you thinking? Because
Yeah.
now we got a whole nother war going on that just got launched today. So apparently, the largest country in the world, India, is mad at the fifth largest. I think they're the fifth largest, but they're definitely
Mhm.
up there and everything. Pakistan. So they're going back and forth, and he's just basically like, I hope that they work it out. I hope that everything works out and everything like that. So he's being kind of nonchalant about it and all along those ways. But this is the same man that said he's going in the Ukrainian war is within a day of coming into office, and now he's meeting with the Canadian Prime Minister and saying he's got a big announcement coming down the pipe. Maybe the big announcement is it just like Putin is having his parade. I think that's why he wants a parade for his birthday, is because he knew Putin was having a parade. And he wants to see if his parade can be as big as Putin's parade. So
Yeah.
maybe that's what it is. It's the parade battle.
Yeah. He, with this holiday thing, it's crazy. But he said it'll be a federal holiday, but you still have to work because they
Right.
do have a lot of federal holidays off they take off for now. Getting back to his actions and stuff. He did an executive order uh, on movies,
Yeah.
on the entertainment industry, on movies.
A hundred
Yeah,
percent,
this is this.
100% tariff on foreign movies. And last time I checked, a lot of movies, including a lot of American movies, were being made in Canada, being made in Mexico, being made in a lot of other places other than America. But you're gonna put 100% tariff on those fine folks.
But it's because of the location, and a lot of time they use different locations because it's easier. They get tax breaks and stuff, things of that nature. Now, he said that the movies that are produced overseas are a lot of them. It's a lot of propaganda with them. Okay, now okay. Oh, they okay. So when Tom Cruise comes out each time with Mission Impossible that's produced and filmed overseas, I guess he's coming up with some kind of propaganda that's going against the country and all that kind of stuff.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Back up, because I gotta ask you a question, Reggie.
Uh,
There've been a couple of movies Black Panther was not one of them, but there have been a couple of movies that strongly had a pro-American sentiment and everything. So I guess Top Gun back in the day, and even I'll go back to my superheroes and everything. I guess Superman and Batman didn't have a pro-American agenda and everything along those lines. Because last time I checked,
but he uses that propaganda word loosely to give himself permission to do what he wants to do.
But there's a guy that speaking. We were talking about different schools, and I mentioned Central earlier and everything like that. But there was a gentleman, Ariel Dorfman, that is over at Duke University, and he wrote a whole book basically that looked at the comic book industry and talked about the propaganda that goes out in just cartoons, and we're talking historical cartoons and all along those lines and everything. So he did a book, and I'm trying to think of the movie's title, but I think it's got Donald Duck in the title. But I know Rodrigo is his son, and Ariel is still around, but he wrote a whole book that basically looked at the nature of the movie industry and its propaganda as using commercial media as a tool for propaganda. That's what the nature of the book was and everything like that. So I'm trying to figure out, did our esteemed leader, did he read this book? Did he know about this book? Or is this just stuff that's coming off his head and everything? Because like I said, it sounds like he's trying to say that they're being propagandized and everything. But like I said, I've heard for a number of years that we've not exactly been innocent of that. I'll just leave it at that.
Right. But he definitely doesn't read, so he probably has never read the book. But okay, it's like he just did a executive action today to shut down PBS.
Right.
Man, we all grew up on public broadcast.
Oh, totally.
Okay, now his thing is that some of the programming for kids is, getting a little out there, and some of it, you just got to make your mind up, and you got to monitor your kid and say, no, we're not going to watch this one because of this and all that kind of stuff. Okay, should be left up to the parent to decide on which cartoons to come on PBS or what shows for kids are good shows for the kids to watch. But he's just taking it in his hand. We're gonna get rid of it. PBS is gone.
I mean, he just wants to get rid of him. Why he want to pick on Ernie and the Muppets and all them other folks? They didn't do nothing to him. Ernie was perfectly fine. Big Bird was perfectly fine. They didn't do anything to him personally and all along those lines. So I do not understand why he's upset at them and why he wants to have this whole issue with them when they did not do a thing to him in the least bit. Like I said, they were just over there minding their own business and all along those lines. So what's up with him and this whole notion of what's going on in that sense?
I don't know. But I'm just looking at some of the stories they got. One from the White House is he's in taxpayer subsidies of biased media. Trump administration kills grant for PBS children's shows. Trump's attacks on funds for NPR and PBS is authoritism. It's just that kind of stuff. So, so why are you going to kill these shows?
Exactly.
So I guess if Mr. Rogers was on there, he was still living. They probably banned him. Older man out there playing with kids, he might call him a pedophile or something,
He would have all kinds of issues with him.
Mm-hmm.
He'd be sitting there going like, why you got to mess with Mr. Rogers? Mr. Rogers did not do anything to him in the least bit, but now he wants to mess with him and all of that says. But I do not get it. The man
but most people don't get it. And most people can't figure out why he wants to do this. But that's what they want to do. See, but it all goes back to
and by the way, the book that I was talking about, because it was by Ariel Dorfman and Armand Madelhart, and it critiques Disney comics from a Marxist point of view. So it's actually looking at how a lot of times the comic books, whether they were even supposed to be simple stories, that they might have actually had a capitalist agenda, is basically what the book was talking about. So that's what Ariel Dorfman and Armand Madelart wrote the book is, and it was basically like how to read Donald Duck and understand what you were reading, because they were saying that there were some subliminal messages that were probably pro-capital and pro-capitalism that were within those books. So, like I said, but it's all right on that side, but it's not all right on the other side. I want to come back to PBS because we got a network person that's one of our founders and everything along those lines. He's been actually adamantly saying that PBS doesn't need federal money and everything. And I was talking to my mom, who used to run a PBS or an NPR station, which is the radio version of PBS and everything. And I was like talking to her, and we were thinking that one of the things that we know about commercial television and commercial news even is that it's in the business to make money. So a lot of times they are doing stories that are going to be either sensational in the sense of crime and things along those lines. And of course, a lot of sports coverage. And of course, they want you to know what's going on weather-wise, because that's very important to you getting to work in all along those lines. But a lot of other stories would probably be missed if it wasn't for public broadcasting, whether that's either PBS or NPR and everything. So they probably do need that federal support, because as I was saying earlier, I think the Corporation of Public Broadcasting was founded in 1967, when probably under Kennedy and all along those lines. But it was done as a way that people could get one education that they might not be getting from their regular school system, that they could get some news that was important to them, even including some of the farm news and all of those lines. But it has served a vital purpose, and I don't think that purpose has been unused at all at this point. And I don't think that the private sector needs to be the only ones that give their donations. I have no problem with donations, but I think that we can also have some federal and state money as well.
Well, the federal and state money for PBS is, with the federal money base, is going to be gone. Now, what they can do, they can limit themselves and they can limit the amount of commercialism that they do on the channel in selling ads. And it might not be a bad idea. They can still have the programming, but allow the corporations, the big corporations, coming in and fund it. Okay, your president, he has sponsors for the Easter egg roll. Ain't never happened in the history of the Easter egg roll. They ever been sponsors, because they don't allow the White House to be used for profit.
Wait a minute, back up, because I had not heard this. So there was literally a section of the White House law that was sponsored by, say, Frito-Lay's or something like that. So there was
Facebook, Meta, Amazon, and a couple others, and they paid like $250,000.
Well, a couple of things on that. One, they do pay in public broadcasting. There's a thing called underwriting, so they can get underwriting support, and they do have to pay money in order to get that. Because
they're not gonna get. Trump is not giving them nothing. Okay, they're not getting no underwriting funds. They're not getting nothing. That's why I said they're gonna have to develop a new model where they can go out and sell ads on there.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. They do sell ads. They just don't sell them in the old-fashioned way. They sell them as underwriting.
Well, they better get to selling them the new way. Because that's the only way they're gonna survive. I mean, first of all, they didn't get that much. I think NPR might have gotten 40% of that money. I think PBS only got maybe like 5% of that money from the federal government.
Right.
I think what should happen, PBS and NPR should merge, okay? Then continue their programming, but like I said, bring in some advertisers. Okay, they don't have to go wild. They don't have to go crazy,
But they get advertised, and then the advertisers are able, because that's the problem with commercial radio and commercial television, and they will be able to dictate what is said. So that's that's what most of the people like about PBS, is that they are not controlled by the advertisers. But they tell the advertisers, come in, look, this ain't about control. This is about us surviving. Okay? If you want to go by our rules, you come. If you don't, we'll find somebody else. And that might, but you never know. And there might be enough donors out there that might look at this as a cause. Like Bezos' ex-wife, she might look at it and say, this is a good cause for me to take some of my billions and give to them, Yeah.
So I think, they're not going to go away, but I think they're going to get creative in the way they raise money, because they're going to have to.
Well, they're going to have to get creative, but it's also impacting some other agencies as well. Because right here in North Carolina, there was a agency that just got formed. I mean, literally just formed recently. I mean, they just got their house, and it was the old house of Polly Murray. Many people that know the history of Brown versus Board of Education will know that name. Those that are into both civil rights and LGBT rights will know that name as well. But they got a substantial part of their money that was cut by the federal government, and even Phil Freelon helped build the African American Cultural Arts Center. And I think a lot of their money is getting ready to be cut. But I'm talking about the Polly Murray House. Literally just opened their doors like maybe less than 6 months to a year ago, and I want to say it was something like 700,000 or something like that they literally got yanked from them, and all along those lines. So you can imagine that that's a big chunk of your planning that you were planning to use, and it's gone. So now you got to go to the people and hope that they're going to give you some money and everything like that. So he's impacting the people in a lot of ways, and I don't think that he really cares.
He doesn't. He doesn't. I mean, they got a congressman, I forgot what his name, I was reading an article today, saying that HBCUs were segregated schools and we need to get rid of them. Okay, dude, why do you think we got HBCUs? Because your great granddaddy and your great great granddaddy didn't want blacks to go to white schools.
Exactly.
And that's why these HBCUs here now. So don't come punishing HBCUs now because of some of the fact you think they should be integrated. And most of them are. I mean, when I came down for homecoming this year at North Carolina Central, I was amazed at the number of whites that were there with NCCU shirts on, enjoying the homecoming. I mean, so they're there.
And there's certain departments that they pretty much run. I hate to say it, but we've got some good black lawyers, and there are definitely some strong black lawyers. I think that one of our past governors actually went to Central's law school and everything like that. So there are a number of white lawyers that went to Central because Central has a strong law department. So definitely there are departments that have
a lot went there because they would be the minorities and they got money. Okay, that's how they got the money to go to school. Okay.
Yeah, that is true. There is such a thing as getting the break because you are now the minority. Yeah. So they did get that minority scholarship because they were the minority at a majority black school as opposed to the other way.
But when you look at Tennessee State, they have been able to maintain their cultural identity, even though they were made to merge with University of Tennessee, Nashville. Okay. Mm-hmm. They wanted to change the state assembly, then they wanted to change the name to University of Tennessee, Nashville. They wanted to change Tennessee State to that, but Tennessee State pushed back on them. But they have a large white population at Tennessee State now, and that's what they want to do. Because, like I said, that one time there was a push to take Fayetteville State and Pembroke and merge them together. Okay. Wow. And they fought that. And one time they wanted to change UNC's name to University of North Carolina at Durham.
Yeah, and they did want to do that at one time. No, I think that was going to be Duke. I think that was going to be UNC at Durham.
Yeah. So it's going to
UNC Durham, and Chapel Hill would still be UNC Chapel Hill and everything like that. Mm-hmm. Speaking of UNC and everything like that, I'm not exactly a spring chicken. Got to hit 63 in another couple of months and all along those lines. But what do you think about Belichick? And apparently he's got this somewhat rich girlfriend that's in her early 20s because apparently she's made some money off of real estate. Now, whether that was with his money or her own money, that I'm not clear of. But apparently it pays to be smart because apparently she was reading a book on some sort of logic, and that's where they met on this plane because he was impressed with what she was reading, and it had something to do with logic and deductive logic and everything like that. So he was impressed by this young 24-year-old. So I know that you've got just recently had grands in your life, and you've got other life events that have happened in all of that space. But if you were, and I know you're happily together with your other queen, and everything like that. But if you were not, and you were 73, would you be trying to pull up some 24-year-old the way that Bill Belichick has?
I don't know about all that, man. I tell you, boy, that'd be a headache, man. That'd be a headache. If you ain't doing what you're supposed to be doing, she's gonna be gone.
Gone.
They ain't gonna stay there forever. But you find this more prevalent in the white community with white men than you do with black men, okay?
Yeah.
And they just don't have no age difference. You look at what's the guy, Pacino.
Yeah, but he had a baby in his
He
80s
almost 90 years old. He
and just had
almost 90 years old. And got
a it just had a baby.
yeah, so then that might be a little suspect. Man, almost 90 years old. He better go have a DNA test done. But that's they do that. That's what they do. So I don't know, but I wouldn't. Probably at my age, if I was single, I would it be in the 50s, mid
Right.
50s.
Keep it at least somewhat reasonable to your own age and everything like that.
Yeah, and that's based on the fact my wife, she's I'm 67, she's 58. So yeah, I can't see myself going backwards,
Going
that
all
far down. That's like
going
see,
down to the
my daughter's 27 years old. What I look like?
I mean, for real, that'd be like going down
24.
to your daughter's age.
Yeah.
That's just I don't get it. And even in the pictures, I'm sitting there going like that. I mean, I know there was that popular TV show, The Odd Couple, but they definitely look like The Odd Couple. But apparently, she's running for Miss Maine and gonna I guess have to answer questions, and she didn't want to answer certain questions like how they met and stuff like that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out.
But I heard they scared of over there at UNC.
Are they scared of her? Are they afraid that she's?
They said she be going to the meetings and she might just sit in the background and she went to spring practice and everything, and someone was getting to jump off, and she stepped in. She stepped in and told them what they needed to do. So
I guess they intimidated by her.
yeah, they are. They are. I read an article on that, man. They don't want her around.
Don't want her around at all. They already afraid she's gonna disrupt things, and I guess he's thinking about getting himself his own PR person. And
But see,
along those lines.
this is the thing. With her being in his life, she might be in love and enjoying the relationship, but I still think it might be that little father-daughter type of thing that she might look at him that he needs her protection because of his age. Do you really want that? And everything.
So it might not be. It may not be May, December. It might actually be a father-daughter. She might have a father issue in her life or anything. What do they call that?
Yeah,
Oedipus complex.
Yeah, because like I said, she's jumping and everything. So it's like she's trying to protect him. I can see it when they get up in the morning. Did you take your Geritol? Stuff like that.
But you got to check out the Geritol first, and you got to make sure you got the blue pill because she is younger.
A blue pill might kill him.
The blue pill might be the end of it.
Yeah, it might be the end of it, but it'll match it with Carolina Blue. So hey,
Carolina Blue, the blue pill. Maybe that's what he's got going on. And let's not forget, he is here in RTP, and this is the Research Triangle Park. So for all we know, he got some young scientist that's over there at UNC getting ready to graduate that might be over there researching and creating a new super blue pill, because we do have here in the Research Triangle Park like to make new drugs and new designer drugs and everything like that. So they might be making something that might be doing all kinds of wonders,
Yeah.
Well, we know.
But see, I guess a lot of times too, you only as old as you feel. Okay.
That's true.
Now, mentally, his mind might be of that of a 40-year-old person or something like that.
Right.
He might have good command of his faculties, but I don't know about his body. And I'm sure his body not operating like an 18-year-old now. But he's happy with her. So
apparently he's happy with her and everything like that. But speaking of those drugs and everything, if there was a drug that was invented and would let you get to a younger age, because they're making all kinds of drugs over there at the RTP. If they ever came up with one, because I understand from my cousin that they were doing one over the whole notion of warp technology, but they came up to you and said, "Hey, we got this drug that's gonna let you become 30 years younger and everything." Would you take that drug, or would you be like, "Nah, that's all right. I can't be dealing with that particular drug and everything"?
Skip it, because the side effects might kill me.
The side effects might kill you and everything. But coming back to Jordan, apparently he was impressed And I can understand you being impressed. If you see a 24-year-old reading a book, now given that it might have been a book for a textbook, but the book was literally called Deductive Logic. So if you were sitting there and you saw a young woman that was reading a book called Deductive Logic, one, I'm thinking it's probably a textbook, so I'm not overly impressed because I'm thinking it's a textbook already. But maybe he was impressed because of the title of the book, because apparently that's where they met was, and then he put an inscription that I think had to do with the Super Bowl in that whole thing. But apparently he was impressed because the book was called Deductive Logic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just thought of something, Reggie. I don't think he read the book, because if he read the book, because if he read the book, would deductive logic tell him that he was already in trouble?
Mm-hmm.
Because by the nature of the title, that you would be deducting something logically. So that's the title of the book. So I'd already be worried by if I knew that was the title of the book and that I wasn't following that in my own life or in my own relationships. Because it seems to me like he's not doing a lot of deductive logic in what he's doing in his life. But I could be wrong. What do you think?
Hey, I think the man just enjoying it. I think he's probably go to bed every night smiling. Boy, I got me a 24-year-old.
Got a 24-year-old. He hitting that. He probably like got a big ass grin on his face every morning. Mm-hmm. Speaking of big ass grins, I got another question for you. This involves one of our other favorite people, Mr. Elon Musk. So apparently, Elon Musk and his employees have voted over there in Texas that they're going to have their own city in Texas called Starbase. So Starbase, Texas, literally exists now. I think it was voted on about 2 or 3 days ago. Mm-hmm. So he now has his own city. And when I think he said he's going to blast off people to Mars and maybe Mercury and other places, but they voted to make Starbase Texas a city. So are you going to be heading to Starbase, Texas anytime soon? Are you going to be joining the people that might be moving to this new city that Elon Musk now owns?
Hey, they better be careful dealing with Elon Musk. The way this stuff going down the tubes, rightfully so. But I don't know. People still support him. I look at, how you spend your money and what you purchase, that's your business, okay? But I tell you, after he has tried to destroy the government like he did, I wouldn't be buying none of his products, okay?
No Tesla, no nothing he got, but he's not the first one, because I remember she bought it, she failed, and it didn't work for her. So I just wanted to know, when are we going to get, Urban Sentinel Town that's just outside of Baltimore? Because, he wasn't the only one. Kim Basinger bought a city way back when in Georgia and everything. So when are we going to have the Urban Sentinel, or maybe Reggie Town? When are we going to get Reggie Town?
That's okay. I don't need nothing. My yard, my house is my town.
That's your town. You don't need no other town. You good with that one?
Yeah. But look, let's talk about, before we run out of time.
Yeah.
The racial climate here in this country stinks, okay? And we always have done that. So it's nothing new. But what you think about this white chick who used the N-word against this 5-year-old boy? They got this company that does a GoFund, type of promotion, and racists around the country have given her almost close to $1 million.
Whoa! I didn't know it was that much.
Yeah.
And she used the N-word
on a 5-year-old boy.
On a 5-year-old boy, and the MAGA people have given her close to $1 million. You said?
Yeah. Let me see. What was her name?
Racist. He is N-word on 5-year-old. Let's find out.
Yeah.
We're gonna blast her out. Let's see what the lovely Dr. Go says.
Okay. I found it. 600.
I found it too.
$675 million. $675,000.
And this was recently, because it says during the week of April 28th, 2025, a video was recorded at Soldier Fields Memorial Park in Rochester, Minnesota by a 30-year-old man named Sharmak Omar. The video showed a white woman being confronted by Omar for allegedly calling a 5-year-old boy of Somali descent, so not even from here, and everything, that N-word and everything like that. So definitely that's just wrong on so many levels. And then she started this campaign, right? 2 days ago, it was 500,000, so it's probably close to $600,000 and all along those lines. So,
but so it's like the latest article I'm seeing that was out 2 hours ago. It's up over 700,000.
wow.
So to my audience, excuse what I'm going to say. So if I call them a cracker, you think I can get me about $1 million?
You shouldn't be able, you shouldn't, I mean, she shouldn't get that money. You shouldn't get that money, but I'm sure she's going to get that money. That's just wrong.
Yeah, it is, but they say when you look at some of the names of the people who gave money, the different names, they have racial slurs and things of that nature. And this company who's doing the raising the money, taking in a donation, this will be a Christian company.
Well, it says after the incident, a woman named Shiloh Hendricks, let's hope for her sake that she's not related to Jimmy, set up a Give, Send, Go fundraiser. So I think that's the Christian company you're talking about, and identified herself as the woman in the video. She stated on her campaign page that her personal information was leaked and that she had been receiving online threats and needed to relocate for her family's safety. So she needs the money so that she can relocate and all along those lines. So she's getting rich so she can relocate and everything that sense. And she's defending her actions by saying the child had stolen from her own child's diaper bag. So I guess she's saying this 5-year-old went in there and grabbed another kid's diaper. I guess that's what her claim is, that he went in there and grabbed another kid's diaper. And I don't know that many 5-year-olds are that quick with their hands, but okay, that's what her claim is that he stole the diaper from her because I guess she's a mother as well.
And it's this country. It's like, okay, a lot of these racist whites that are contributing are basing their thing on the young man down in Texas who, he said was self-defense, stabbed this young football player when they were at a football game, and they started a GoFundMe account for him. Okay, to help with his defense fund. And so whites are trying to equate what's happening now with the young guy that I can't think of his name right now. Cal. Cal is his first name. I can't think of his last name. They're trying to equate the two, okay? But just see, then they went a step further, trying to say that the parents have bought a brand new house, buying brand new cars and all this kind of stuff, Really trying to disparage the young man.
Yeah, they're trying to disparage the young man and everything, but they do a lot of that because there's another person in the Black and Brown Club, and he's still sitting over there in El Salvador because your boy photoshopped a picture of him with the MS-13 logo, even though there is plainly evidence that it was photoshopped and that the image does have the image of a marijuana leaf, and it's not my substance of choice, but I do have friends that is their substance of choice and everything like that, but it is not a gang symbol per se, and a couple of other things that weren't gang symbols either, but they're trying to make him out to be the worst thing since sliced bread because they're basically like, he's a wife beater, and yeah, he did have that injunction against his wife, but apparently his wife is coming to his aid regularly and everything like that, and that he is just a horrible citizen that is a member of the gang, and apparently is a member of the gang in New York, even though there's no evidence that he's ever even been to the city of New York, but he's still sitting here in El Salvador and all along those lines. And speaking of El Salvador and New York, I do have another question for you, and it comes back to race, because we know that the prison system is corrupt. The prison system is definitely very anti-Black and brown and all along those lines. But, one of the other things that Trump said he wants to do is he wants to turn Alcatraz back into a federal prison. So what are your thoughts about that? I know it made some good movies and everything like that, but now he wants to make it into a prison.
Okay.
To that earlier. So what is your thoughts on the notion of him making this into a prison?
Look at this. Okay, Doge was formed to cut government waste.
That's what they said.
All right, but now you taking every little chance you get, you taking money that you supposedly was saving, which I doubt was true, and you want to do Alcatraz and other things. Okay?
Right.
Now, just think about how old Alcatraz is and how dilapidated it is.
Exactly.
Just think about how much money it's going to cost to try to refurbish that thing. Because first of all, it ain't like you can drive a truck up to the island
Nope.
and offload the supplies.
Nope.
You got to bring them out there by boat and offload and carry them all up there. Man, this dude is crazy. He just done lost his mind. He cray.
It got to be cray because, like you said, it's not going to be cheap to do that at all. It's impossible. It's not going to be cheap in the least bit. But he's going to somehow manage to do that. And like you said, they got to refurbish it. I'm thinking the security system is not been working for several decades, probably. So at least a decade or two. So you got to do a whole new security system.
But these are the things he thinks will make America great again. Other than him trying to kill the Civil Rights Bill in 1964 and things of that nature, the Voting Rights Act, he's trying to kill that.
Like you said earlier, the man is cray. He's
trying to make this one America. You cannot make this one America because of the simple fact blacks have been through a lot. Okay,
no, exactly.
So you can't wake up one day and say, "Oh, okay, we are just one big happy family now." Okay.
Well, not that, but a lot of what he's doing is against black and brown folks. But he still can't change back the clock and time. I mean, well, he could if he does some very harmful things and everything. But I think that the estimate is that if we're not already there, but no later than I think they say by this is 2026. I think it's either 2030 or 2035 that America and the world, but definitely America, will be a majority minority community. So the whites will no longer be as exclusively.
Not really.
Huh?
Not really, then, because see, right at this time, blacks only 13 to 15% of the population. Okay.
Right.
The biggest reason for him to want to send immigrants back because they're all hooked on that replacement theory. Okay.
Right.
This country becoming a majority country was based on the fact that with our population and the population of Hispanics, Latinos, and things of that nature, we would have a strong base. That's the only reason. The only reason he's sending people back because they're trying to keep this country white as long as they can. Okay, that's just the bottom line of it. Okay. But he ain't gonna never come out and say it, okay? But that's the bottom line of it. And I look at the black MAGA. Yeah, your vote is your vote. You can do what you want to do with it. But you need to remember the things that are getting thrown at you, even though you black MAGA, you still in the same boat I'm in, okay?
Exactly.
And they don't realize that, They just think your president loves them to death. Okay, he doesn't. He doesn't.
He's not a fan, and they think they're gonna get some crumb of a job. Has Tim Scott got a job yet? Has Barry what's his name got a job yet?
And them two did everything, but I ain't gonna say what I'm gonna say, but they did everything but that. Okay. Oh boy, gosh, Tim Scott talking about looked at me in the face and said, I love you. I said, Lord have mercy.
And they ain't got a job of one yet.
Mm-mm.
As a matter of fact, speaking of people that ain't got a job of one yet, his other candidate, we don't even hear from her no more and everything. And, she was supposed to be the Indian version of the hope of the Republican Party. But when was the last time you even heard a mention of Nikki? Yeah, when was the last time you even heard Nikki Haley's name?
She'll be back out. She'll be back out in
2026 or 2028.
Yeah, she'll be back out.
Speaking of being back out, what's your thoughts on, I understand, because Marjorie Taylor says that she could win the race and everything, but Brian Kemp, the governor of Georgia, said that he does not want to run for that Senate race and everything like that. So I guess he's going to pull out and not be in that. But then Marjorie came out and said, hey, I think I might want to run to be the governor or the senator and everything like that.
Those guys spend a lot of money on polling. Before they do anything, if you're a good political person, I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, before you jump into a race of that type, you're going to do your research on it and see how likely is how likely your chances are. Okay,
right?
You're not just going to go out there and jump into the race. So that's why a lot of those guys, they spend money on posters to go out and look at the polls and see how people do that name recognition, how people feel about them and everything to make the determination. You got to realize Georgia is very close to going to becoming a blue state. Okay,
Right.
So those are the things they look at. It's just like up here now. It's a guy who said he's going to run against Wes Moore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, Wes Moore got national appeal. He got everything. Okay. But this is the thing, and I'm going to be blunt about it. What can this white man tell me it's going to make me go out and vote for him instead of Wes Moore?
Right.
Now, granted, Weston done some things I ain't happy with everything. Taxes have gone up. I was noticing now that to get a 2-year license plate now is almost $350. Things that they have, they're called taxes. They just call, raising the fees up a little more, but it's really a tax to me.
Right.
But, what can you do? You don't know where you at. You in Maryland, okay?
Right.
All right. Your chances of winning, unless you find a block of black people who can't stand Westmore, your chances of winning the null and void in the primary, okay? So
I just don't get it, but folks don't be thinking about the big picture and everything. I did have a question for you about your area, DC, and everything like that, and it comes back to the capital and everything. Now, I get it because he did the same thing in North Carolina, and I am a supporter of Reverend Barber and everything, but we need to become illegal to pray because, like I said, best I can tell, he was just praying, not giving it with the rotunda, given they got certain rules as to where you can't pray and can't gather. But
you can't do black prayers in the Capitol, okay, in the rotunda, but you can come through there and tear the doors down and poop all over the place and pee all over the place, and and then you get pardoned for rioting, trying to tear the place down. But no, don't come in there and give a black prayer.
That's all Reverend Barber was doing, was just a black prayer.
That's all he was doing. But see, this is what they say. You can come into the rotunda and pray silently.
Right.
If you want to pray out loud, there's other areas in the capital area where you can go and pray out loud. They say the rotunda is not a place that allows people to pray out loud. Okay? So him and his group of preachers, they were praying silently. Okay?
Yep.
Then they decided, look, we're going to turn up the volume. And that's what they did. Okay? Now, I don't know what the deal is. What's wrong with praying? Okay?
Yeah.
He won't in there trying to tear the place down. He won't try to defecate in the place.
Nope.
He won't do that. He was just praying.
Just praying.
Praying a black prayer.
A black prayer.
I tell you, I don't know.
I just don't get it, but apparently that's against the law according to the Trump way of the world, because you can't be doing that, and so he had to get slapped with a like I think they said it was basically a fine, but I think he's paid it or is in the process of paying it. But like I said, the man was just trying to get a prayer because he said we're in deep trouble because they hate to say this, but there is a serious problem with poverty, and it ain't just black folks, it's white folks, there's a bunch of other folks. But to hear them talking about it, we ain't got no problem. Everything's fair. Oh, ain't no problems out there. There's no homelessness. There's no drug problems. All of this is a figment of your imagination.
That's right. If you listen to the people that's around 47, they tell you ain't nothing going on in America.
Ain't nothing going on.
We've got a lot of issues in this country, and will it ever be fixed? No. I mean,
speaking of things that won't be fixed, and I agree with you. We got a lot of issues. We got to fix them. We got to get the housing situation. We got to get the situation done with the people that are facing hunger. There's a number of things we've got to get done. Got to get some of these highways fixed. Got to get internet going so that people can have access, and a lot of other things. Even though there's some people that are against internet for all and everything like that, but there's a lot of things we got to do just to improve society. We got to fix our education system and all in that kind of way. So we got some major improvements we got to do, but just a slight pivot, and we'll come back to politics and get ready to wrap up, as you said earlier. I do have a question for you. Is LeBron gone, or is LeBron going to stick around another year? Because he's going into playoffs. I watched that last game. It was not pretty, and it was even uglier that Golden State's still in there, but they got a tough series. I think it starts tonight between them and Minnesota and everything. I did see Indiana steal that first game against Cleveland, and watch some of the other games that are going on. And I think the Canes are playing today too, which is the hockey team here in North Carolina.
They're playing us. They're playing us tonight.
They're playing
LeBron going to his 25th anniversary.
Right.
His 25th year gonna be his last year.
Right.
But he's only in his 23rd year next year. So he's gonna play at least 2 more years.
So he's going to do 2 more years and everything. I understand that some people were afraid that he was getting ready to step down because I was looking on social media and he was said that the knee injury was going to cause him to not go to this event, but he was supposed to be a co-chair for the Met celebration that is going on and everything. So he said that he was sending his queen, which is his wife, to represent the James Foundation and the James name brand and everything like that. So he sent his queen Savannah over there because he could not make it and he regretted that. But on social media, there were a lot of people that were panicking because they were afraid that he was saying that he was getting ready to step down and, you know.
No, I give him to his 25th anniversary. And I think he'll sit down after that. You know, I just think getting in 25 years, I think that's his desire now.
Okay, well, I can see that, and then maybe he get to play with his son and everything. My other question for you on sports, because I know you're a sports fan just like I am as well, but is Guinness going to be the Greek Freak? Is he going to be with Milwaukee and Doc, or is he going to be? Is this the year he bounces, even though he says he's loyal to the team?
I don't know, but you got some of the Milwaukee fans are suggesting that he leave.
There are some fans that are suggesting he leave.
Go find a team that you can get a championship on. Stop messing with us, because you ain't gonna get that here. But I think the coach is gone.
You think Doc is gone?
Doc is gone. Doc should have stayed in TV.
Well, he'll be coming back to TV if he's gone. I'm sure he'll be coming back to ESPN or one of them other folks.
Yeah. But look, checking the scores out now, Cleveland with 28 seconds left in the third quarter is leading Indiana 97-81. So they popping back up on them tonight.
So that'll be a 1-1 series.
Yeah, and let me see. I'm trying to find the hockey score. See the baseball, hockey. Oh, yeah, well, you know, at the end of the second period, we leave 1-0.
No 1-0. That's still a tight game.
Yeah, but before this game over, somebody gonna get killed because all that games they played this year, they've always had fights and everything.
In the hockey with the Capitals and the Canes.
Yeah, it's a tough rivalry. You know, it's been tough. So I mean, we got a good chance to win the Stanley Cup this year. I mean,
y'all got a good chance, and I think whoever wins this series should be able to win the Stanley Cup because I think they'll get past the next round. So I think whoever wins the Capital Canes series will win the next round and then be in the Stanley Cup. So I would agree with you on that. The winner of this series, I'm predicting, will win the next game, and then they'll be in the Stanley Cup. Whoever wins this series, because I think this can go.
Didn't the Canes win it? Didn't the Canes win it like the first year they were in the league?
And I think it was their first year. They were either the first or second year, but it was early in their career.
Yeah, so they started out good.
Oh yeah, and they've had strong teams, and they've oftentimes had strong teams in that area. Well, some friends of mine, they got a concert coming up this Saturday. I'm supposed to be at it, but it's supposed to involve your go-go music. So Trouble Funk and Belladonna will be in town, and then What's the Experience, which is a Frankie Beverly tribute band. I think that's the name of the band. I know it's got Experience in the title, but they'll be here as well, and that'll be on Saturday. But this same promoter, or along with some friends or associated with the same promoter, they did a boxing match. So they had 4 pro fights and 6 amateur fights in Jordan Arena. So I did not make it to it, but I understand there's some good fights and everything like that. So I just wanted your take on boxing as a sport, because I remember it used to be very popular back in the day, and Joe Frazier and stuff. But what is your take on boxing as a sport?
It's not what it used to be. I don't even know who's boxing these days. I mean, we've had some good guys like in the lower divisions come out of the DC area, but it's not like it used to be. It's just not. It doesn't carry that weight anymore. You know,
doesn't have that weight anymore. Folks aren't as excited about the fights.
The wrestling, as fake as that is, people love it. They love it to death. They love it to death. Your
boy was still in some wrestling match. I saw that. I think he did something in Jordan a couple of years ago. But even Steamboat is still around. So I saw a picture of him, and he was actually still out there. I think it was like 2 years ago. He was still out there trying to get his match on.
And you look at UCF, and UCF ain't fake. Them guys, they're about trying to kill each other.
Oh yeah, you talking about that mixed martial arts? Yeah,
and they doing real well. They're doing real well with boxing.
Boxing Boxing ain't what it used to be.
Because, like I said, UCF has taken that over, the mixed martial arts, because you're doing boxing and kicking. You're acting like a crazy man out there. And I think people want that type of excitement as opposed to somebody running around the ring for 3 minutes.
Well, speaking of crazy folks, what's your thoughts around the administration? Because I understand that your girl, speaking of boxing and wrestling, but I think Miss McMahon is still trying to get rid of the education department. Christy Gnomes is still running around and talking about the real ID and all along those lines. And of course, she tried to shoot somebody way back when, and RFK is just doing all kinds of stupid things. So we got an interesting administration. And are you ready for this? I understand that Matt Gaetz might be who's going to replace Elon Musk as head of Doge. We didn't want Matt Gaetz in the other job, but apparently he's going to be the head of Doge and everything like that. So what's your thoughts on Matt Gaetz going to be trying to control the money?
Well, the thing is, white boys can do crazy stuff and get away with it. If it was a black guy, he'd be in jail just off of accusations,
Yeah.
And he know good and well he was with underage girls, gave them drugs, and paid them for their time and everything. He knows that. Talking about, I always give people money. No. You gave people money for a specific reason.
Well, I'm not going to be surprised. I was watching, I know this is fiction as opposed to facts that we're talking, but I was watching an old episode. I think it might have been one of the Law and Orders and everything. And one of the settings was something that I forgot still existed, even in the post-pandemic age. But one of the settings was a sex club. So I think that those things still exist, even in 2025. And y'all even got something in DC where you can literally go into a room and you might be running up on just about anything because it's a sex club. But I forgot that sex club even existed. But apparently they are a popular thing. They're not quite a brothel, but they got like the club atmosphere, and then you might just go knock on a room, and there might be some people doing S&M, but there might be some people doing whatever they feel like doing. And I know that some of your authors talked about some of that even in their books and everything. And I think even Zane talks about it. So is sex clubs and swinging a real thing, or is that like something that's just a figment of people's imaginations?
No, it's a real thing. Very discreet. Very discreet, but it's a real thing.
Back when I was at the radio station, WNCU, we had a party, and the party was the same day as a swinger party was going on. And I was shocked at some of the people that were at that party and everything, because I think, like I said, we were there. Jerry was still living because he passed away. I think that was last year that he passed, and he was the program director. And we were sitting there and talking and just enjoying ourselves. I think we had, it wasn't Frida Payne. I think we had Frida Payne as our guest. But next door, because it was in a hotel that's not a hotel anymore and everything. And I remember talking to the people, and I was like, so what did you do? And I think one of them was a police officer. I think another was an educator. So you're right, it's very discreet. So you go into your classroom, and that person might have a whole nother life that's involving them being it was a wife swapping event. There was the other thing. Swapping event and everything. And I'm going like, wait a minute, you're here for what? And the old guy was like, I think he was up from either Charlotte or Asheville, and he was I think that might have been the police officer. And then another person was like, yeah, I'm a teacher. I'm going like, you know what? And you doing what? Y'all swapping each other's, I don't get it, but that's what they want to do.
That's what they want to do. That's what we want to do.
But hey, I know that you've had some of your guests that have talked about it, but Reggie, it ain't just the white folks, because you've had a whole chapter of black folks that are doing it. I thought it was a majority white thing, but I think even a bunch of brothers and sisters are getting involved in this.
They're getting into all that crazy stuff. Now I got a friend who's in a polygamist. He's a polygamist, and so I didn't believe it. I ran into his sister one day, and I was talking to his sister. She said, your boy got about 2 or 3 wives. And I said, huh? I said, man, with his temperament, he can't just hold on to one. So I called him. We were talking, and he said, what he do? When he got the second one, they sat down and interviewed her.
They interviewed her?
Yeah, to make sure she was compatible and she was down for the cause. I said, okay. I said, boy, you do your thing, man.
Well, I ain't mad. I remember when the buses were running and they were costing money. I was coming from Chapel Hill, and I ran into a friend of mine that I've known for years, and all along those lines. And I think she was on her way back to her relationship, because she was telling me that she was going, I think later on that day, and this was before the pandemic, so it's like 2019. I think she was going to a swinger party later on that evening or later on that week. And I'm sitting there going like, this woman couldn't have been more than, she was a relatively short thing, like maybe 5'4", 5'3". Not that height makes a difference in everything, but I'm sitting there going like, I would not have put that on you as something that was your interest. But yeah, she definitely had an interest.
Yeah.
I know she's still involved in that space. I know some other people in the political lane that are in that space as well. So, like I said, there's no telling who you might find out. I think personally that's why certain books are not out, because there are certain people that might be afraid that their name might come out in
That's right.
certain activities, which is why the Epstein book is not out right now. So I think that there are probably some people even in DC that are doing things that they don't want people to know, and that might be what Trump has over some of those people that are voted for his bills and voted against their own interests.
Who knows?
Reggie, I'm thinking Trump might be like, if you don't vote my way, I still got to copy that book.
Yeah.
I still got to copy that video.
That's right. Well, look, man, let's get out of here.
All right, we can get ready to get out of here. It's always fun cutting it up with you and everything like that. This was a fun conversation. We covered a lot of different things, but I think that we did come to one consensus agreement, which is that our man Trump has got some serious issues, and we might have to, there's a place just down the road. At least it used to be just down the road. I think it still runs. So, do you think that we got to put Trump into Butner real soon?
No, he's going to El Salvador. They're gonna make a suite down there, that prison down there. I mean, like they said, people keep forgetting he got 34 felony convictions against him. So I'm looking forward for him going to El Salvador. I'm gonna tell you, if I ran for president and won, my first executive order would be go pick Trump up, put him on a plane, and take him to El Salvador.
So you're not even gonna try to send him to the mental house?
I'm sending him to El Salvador. He seemed like shipping people off to prisons in other countries. Let him go do his years of his 34 convicted felons down in El Salvador.
I agree with you. I just had one other very quick question before we end, because this was a sad news on my side and everything. How much, and this is my question for you, Reggie, how much do you think we pay enough attention to our elderly and their health? Because I just found out that a friend of mine that was a very active person here in our blues community, and I was talking to another friend that's a local promoter, and we promoted some events together, and he told me that friend literally is now in the nursing home here near Duke. So we talked about Duke earlier, and he's at that nursing home, and I didn't even know that he had been placed in there, and I think he's been in there for about a year and a half, maybe almost 2 years and everything. But I know even when Brother Yusef was there, who was not the same nursing home, but another one, I think, I was not always that pleased with the care that some of those nursing folks, that some of our elderly were getting.
One time I thought it was a white thing, because a lot of times when whites let go of a family member, they just take them to the nursing home, leave them, they don't ever go back. Right. But that's a black thing too. Now, I found that out when my mother was in the nursing home over Wake Forest. Blacks drop you off too and leave, and you don't ever see them again. The reason my mother got good care was because of my brother. I couldn't be there every day. My brother would go by that nursing home every day, and he would challenge them. They didn't like to see my brother. Okay, they don't want to see you. If you're interested in your loved one and you making demands to them, they don't like that. Because first of all, those girls or ladies, they don't make that much money. A lot of them make minimum wage or a couple dollars over minimum wage. Okay, and it's hard work. I mean, I know. When my mother was at home my brother and I decided to put her in the nursing home, he had to go somewhere one weekend. Oh, no, she was in the nursing home then. No, she wasn't. She wasn't. It's been a couple times I had to go down there. And he had to go somewhere that weekend because the caretaker, she had to do something. My brother had to do something. So he told me, he said, look, man, I'm going to need for you to have to come down there. So I went down and I said, look, I'll be there Saturday around 4 o'clock. I'll be there when the lady gets off. Because the second shift lady wasn't coming in. Man, I tell you, I love my mom to death. But that was the hardest work I ever done. It's hard work, man.
It is very hard work. I know that even when my dad was doing some treatments and everything along those lines, but my dad is not your average person. He was actually trying to organize the workers and all along those lines, because he was still got his faculties and still is very active and healthy, even his early to mid 80s, because he's a little bit older than mom, so he's about mid 80s now and everything like that, but still got all of his faculties and is still very much together. So like I said, just several months back, he was trying to organize those workers, because like I said, a lot of times they are not paid as much as what they go through, because they go through a lot, and that's a lot of sometimes dead weight. And I'm not saying dead weight in the sense of being passed away, but dead weight is like you're not as active. You got to lift them up.
Yeah, and that thing, it hurt me really a lot to put my mother in the nursing home, but it got to a point where even with help, I know it was killing the help.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it got to a point where she just really needed that 24 hour, because you never know on a Saturday afternoon somebody gonna call you. I'm all with him in Maryland and saying I can't go in that Saturday. You sitting there, man, what I'm gonna do? Who I'm gonna get to go sit with my mother? You know. So you gotta find, some relative or somebody in the neighborhood. Look, man, I'm on my way to North Carolina. Can you just go to the house and just stay with her till I get there? But it's a lot of people, man, they drop them off, they don't never go back.
Yeah.
Because the first Thanksgiving she was there, I went by Wagmans, and they had these prepared dinners and stuff. So, I said, I just grab a couple of those and throw them in the microwave and just, spend some time with her. And so I picked up that day and took her over to the house, and then I brought her back. So then when I was coming back, this white gentleman, he was coming back. He said, "That's your mother?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Man, I wish I could have." He had some cake in his hand, and he had come back to the nursing home to give his mother-in-law the cake, because he said his wife said she didn't want her mother at the house for Thanksgiving dinner.
Oh, wow.
And he said he told me, and he said, "Man, that's the best thing you could have done. Drove down here to take your mother home so she could be in surroundings for Thanksgiving dinner." But he said his wife said she didn't want her mother there.
Wow.
And that's how they do. So, like I said, it's both a black and white thing,
Both a black and white thing. We got to do better with the way we treat our elderly people. Just like we got to do better with the way we treat our.
Well, it's not going to change. Now, Asians, when you grow up, you are tasked with taking care of your elderly parents. Okay, no matter what age they are, that's your job. Okay, if they're 50 years old, you're 20 years old, that's your job. So some cultures, that's what they do. Okay, but not here in America. Boy, you better have some money, somebody take care of you if you get sick, man.
You better have some money to be taking care of you sick and everything, because the medical system is corrupt. That's one of the other things that they really need to fix it along those lines. And you're right. Well, some of those Asian cultures, they might have 4 or 5 generations living in one house, or sometimes just one apartment, but they got everybody giving respect to each other. And along those lines, like my next door neighbor is the 2 countries that fight each other. She's Ethiopian. I think she's Eritrean and everything. But I see her with her grandkids all the time, because the kids be coming up, the grandkids be coming up, and they be visiting her on a regular basis, because they got a great deal of respect for their elderly.
Yeah, because one of my neighbors, they're Indian, and I don't know if it's the mothers, I don't know if it's the wife's parents or the husband parents, but they staying in the house with them. They got like 2 or 3 kids plus the parents staying there. That's what they do.
That's what they do. On that note, we will get out here, have some more of these deep discussions tomorrow. But I just had to find your thoughts on that, because that really shocked me when I found out.
Yeah, it don't shock me. It don't shock me. If anything, I'm disappointed in the family member for not taking care of. I look at everything my mother and father did for me, and it would have been crazy for me not to be able to take care of them, because that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah,
I feel that's what I'm supposed to do. Exactly. Okay, look, man, I'm gonna head the road to the audience. Hey, it's been good tonight. We've been sitting here talking about some current events and some not so current events. So, come back next Tuesday night, same time, same place, 8:00 p.m. for Urban Sentinel Live. Hey, Mark, have a good rest of the week, man.
Do the same. Looking forward to talking to you, and I'll let you know how the Go-Go concert went. By next week, I would have already done the concert and would have seen those amazing bands. So I'll let you know.
Okay, let me know, man. Take care.
Peace.